All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to our March. Is that the right month? Yes, YouTube Live. If you guys are just joining for the first time, we do these live sessions each and every single month. So hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear. And if you guys are a returning viewer, thank you very much for supporting the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and give this video a thumbs up. We've got a lot to cover today, and I'm really excited to chat with you. So hopefully you guys start saving up those questions right now. And I hope that I'm coming in loud and clear. Feel free to chime in if you guys are watching live right now. You can let me know what city you're driving in and say hi. So I see we've got quite a few people already in the live chat. So if you guys are on desktop, the live chat will be on the right-hand side. And if you're on mobile, you can scroll down to the bottom, I believe, and click live chat, and you should be able to participate in the live chat. I'll get to see what you're saying, and if you say anything bad, I'll have to put you in timeout, just like Uber does. So just kidding, well, sort of. But seems like we've got some good, we've got the room. I'll let the room fill up a little bit more and we'll get started. Steve says, aloha from Hawaii. Nathaniel says, Harry, explain Uber's destination policy. That's definitely something we're gonna cover, and we've got an article and a video coming out about that this week. I was actually on vacation with my family last week, and of course, a couple big news stories and kind of honestly bad for driver news stories broke while I was gone. So we're a little slow to get on that, but we'll definitely have you guys answer all your questions and educate and sort of tell you what's going on in this live video today. I'll answer that question, and then we'll have another article coming out tomorrow and a video on Thursday with a lot more detail. Looks like I see Jay says hi from San Francisco. He actually should be working on that article and video about the destination filter changes. So Jay, get back to work. And then looks like we've got a big crowd coming in. So we'll go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, if you guys are just joining for the first time, so basically what we do on these live sessions, we do these every single month, usually on Tuesdays, 4 o'clock. Today, I'll be honest, I was a little late. It was supposed to start at 4:30 Pacific, but I was rushing home, ran a couple stop signs. Oh, not good. California stopped a couple stop signs to get here just a few minutes late. So thank you guys for bearing with me. And in this session today, we're going to go over a couple top news stories, just spend a few minutes, and then a couple of the latest app updates. This month, there are definitely some big app updates to the destination filter. In Los Angeles, rates were lowered, or as Uber likes to call it, rebalanced for the second time in just a few months. And then we'll spend a majority of the time, I'd say 45 minutes, maybe more, answering whatever questions you might have. So start thinking about all those questions. I'm going to go over these stories and the app updates right now and give you guys a little bit of update and context and what's going on. And then I'll turn the floor over to you and allow you to ask whatever questions you might have. So it looks like we've got people from all over the country. James says hi from South Florida, Israel from San Diego. We're already up to 81 people watching right now. So I think we're good to go. We're good to get started. And if you guys are having any issues with the live stream or anything like that, let me know in the live chat, but usually refreshing the page or kind of closing out the YouTube app and bringing it back open helps. And of course, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so now. We release 2 to 3 new videos every single week. We've got a brand new contributor who I'll talk about in a second, who's doing some weekly news roundups that are really great. Cecily from Drive Girl Drive has been making a little cameo, a weekly cameo, and that will continue going forward. And then feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you like it so far. I also want to mention, make sure you stay tuned to the end of this broadcast, because I'm going to be giving away a copy of my book. Hold on. All right. I'll be giving away a copy, 3 copies of my book. If you guys can make it all the way to the end, we'll do a little giveaway, and that way you can win something for sitting here and watching me for almost an hour. So let's get started. Obviously, some of the big news, that we've covered extensively, but the Uber and Lyft IPO are coming out. I know that Jay actually in the comments right now, he's a driver who had 10,000 rides, so he's going to qualify for $1,000 cash bonus from Lyft, which he can invest in the IPO, and it sounds like he will. So we're going to have a really cool series of maybe an article or two and a video or two about what that process is like. And what I found is not a lot of drivers, really qualified for this Lyft bonus. I mean, it's super hard to rack up 10,000, especially 20,000 rides on Lyft. I'd be curious to know right now from you guys in the comments, how many Lyft rides do you guys have right now? Feel free to chime in and let me know, because I feel like getting 10,000 Lyft rides is really only possible in a big city like San Francisco, maybe LA. And I'm not anywhere close on Lyft, that's for sure. So I'm really curious if anyone has hit those numbers for Lyft, what you'll be doing with your bonus, if you'll be investing it or whatever it might be. So it looks like we've got ROG says 1,800, 600, 600, 3,500, 2,400, 700, 500. So, sort of what I expected. With Lyft, it's tough. But one thing that I have heard, I can give you guys a little insight into this Uber IPO that's coming out. They're going to be doing a very similar cash bonus system. And so I wouldn't be surprised if not only if it was similar to Lyft's, but also if it was better. So what I mean by that is that, it's a lot easier. Well, still got to do a lot of rides, but I think there's gonna be a lot more drivers who potentially qualify for the Uber IPO cash bonus, since racking up 10,000 rides on Uber is a lot more achievable, I guess I would say, than doing it on Lyft, for example. So I think that there's gonna be a lot of drivers who qualify for this. So I'll go ahead right now and I'm gonna share a link to an article we did about the Lyft financials that were released. And it looks like a lot of people with 7,000, 9,000. I actually don't know if I've seen, Victor has 10,896. So I'm curious to know, Victor, what you'll be doing with your $1,000 cash bonus from Lyft. Will you be investing it, or will you be just taking the cash? I think the move for me personally is, potentially to keep half of the bonus in cash and invest the other half in IPO. So we'll see what happens there. And then, that was kind of the big news of the past month. And looks like Jay chimed in. He's got 14,900 rides on Lyft. So it looks like only 2 people so far watching right now are actually going to qualify for this Lyft bonus. But I think with Uber, it's going to be significantly more. So we'll see what happens there. And I also saw that Uber girl Paula just joined, another great YouTube contributor. So thanks for coming on, Paula. And she's actually going to have a couple videos on our channel, I think this week, about hop, skip, drive. So very excited to share those with you guys. John says, Victor and Jay, congrats. Rideshare Revolution, another great YouTuber. I think he shaved his beard though. I don't know what's up with that. He has 13,000 on Uber rides. So like I said, I think there's gonna be a lot more people who qualify for this Uber bonus. And from what I've heard for the Uber IPO, the cash bonuses that they're gonna allow, give to drivers that you can then invest in the IPO, it seems like they're gonna have very similar terms to Lyft. So if you guys are close to 10,000 rides, I would very quickly try to get to 10,000 just in case. You don't want to miss out on that. So the other kind of big app updates that I know we've been a little slow to cover, like I mentioned, I was personally out on vacation last week. But the Uber is now experimenting with destination filters, and in a pretty bad way. So basically what's happening is in 18 markets, they are either removing destination filters completely in places like New York City, or they're reducing the rates by 30%, which I think, right off the bat, as soon as I heard this news, I was sort of thinking to myself, oh shit, this is bad. Uber Instant Pay and the destination filter, I think, are 2 of, by far, the most popular features for drivers that we've seen in, honestly, I don't know, ever, for last 3-4 years. And so anytime you're going to mess with a driver's favorite feature or rates, I think is a bad thing. And so, we've heard from a ton of drivers. We'll have an article coming out that's more in depth if you guys want to read that tomorrow, and a video on Thursday. But if you're in one of these affected cities, I know it's the 30% reduction happened in places like, I want to say, Philadelphia, Chicago, a bunch of other small ones. It definitely sucks because, the destination filter to me is, you only get 2 a day on Uber, you get 6 on Lyft, but, I always use it at the end of the night, especially driving in a place like Los Angeles, and I would imagine many other cities, you never get a ride, that ends at the end of the night. It's very difficult to get a ride headed back to your house without the destination filter. So I know that for that end of the night trip, it's super valuable. And I kind of don't really understand or get Uber's reasoning behind this change. They say that they're doing it because it's actually, the destination filter. When driver turns on the destination filter, that's sort of, like less availability for riders because now, you might only be going one way as opposed to any way. So it's sort of like higher ETAs. That's what Uber is saying. I don't know. I don't know if I quite, I believe that explanation from Uber, but it doesn't like really make sense to me, right? Because if I'm using it at the end of the night and I turn the destination filter off, I'm now offline. And that's way worse than having me kind of be like half available to drivers. So I'm curious to hear what you guys say. Matthew says they're screwing on a destination in Philly. Let's see. John says destination feature works. I never used it actually. So, one thing definitely, if you're in a smaller city, I don't know that the destination filter works as well anyways. Dan says, I feel that you guys dropped the ball in reporting what really matters when it matters. I don't know. I think that with the destination filter, I totally agree with you on that. I was on vacation and I sort of saw this news happening, but I didn't really want to break my vacation to report on it and cover it. But I think that pretty much everything else that's happened, we're very quick to report on it. With YouTube especially though, since I use multiple contributors on the YouTube channel, it does always take a day or two probably. We're never gonna, like, something happens and we're gonna post a video about it same day. That's just not really my style on YouTube, but on the blog, we definitely do that. So if there's a topic you feel we missed out other than the destination filter, I'd be happy to discuss that with you because we're always trying to improve. Uber girl Paula, I know she's here in Los Angeles. She says, we really need it for driving here in Los Angeles. And the thing that sucks about destination filter already is that it already didn't work during really busy times, during rush hour. And so, I don't know, I'm just not really buying Uber's, kind of reasoning. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't like pass my smell test for why they need to, do these experiments. So Uber girl says, it happened to me yesterday using the destination filter and they cut the per minute rate by 50%. So this has been a big change in Los Angeles. They actually, rebalanced, which, a lot of drivers feel that basically lowered rates. Uber calls it a rebalance, but they rebalanced the rates and basically lowered the rates again in Los Angeles for the second time in about 6 or 8 months. So definitely, I've gotten a lot of emails from a lot of pissed off Los Angeles drivers about this, and I totally agree. Anytime Uber is kind of messing with rates, it can be really frustrating. So I totally get it. Steven says destination filter matters in Hawaii. And then let's see. Clay is trying to scam his phone number. All right, we'll hide that one. Let's see, what else we got? Jonathan says, destination filter worked. They just shut it off when it's busy because they don't want us to use it. So I'm curious to know how you guys use the destination filter. Obviously, I always save one for the end of the night. When I kind of want to get home, but during the other times of the day, it is good for kind of repositioning yourself or getting out of certain areas or getting away from traffic or getting, if you get taken for a ride all the way out into the boonies or the suburbs, you can use that destination filter to come back to real society. So Matthew says, they literally said in a message, other drivers were not making money because of too many drivers using destination mode. That doesn't make sense because you only get 2 a day. Matthew, that's kind of what I was thinking. Honestly, like I could get it if you could use a destination filter on every trip. Yeah, I could see how drivers would abuse it, but you only get 2 a day. And most drivers, I think, are using that one destination filter for sure at the end of the night. So you kind of have like one to play around with during the day. And if you're out driving a full day, you're going to do 10, 15, 20, maybe 50 trips. I just don't see how it can have that big of an effect. So personally, I kind of don't really agree with it. We'll see what happens there, though. And if you guys do have any more questions about this, feel free to chime in. Clownfish says, Uber likes to turn off the ability to use destination filter around 6 p.m. for me. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on this. And I think it's a big issue that's affecting a lot of drivers. So we'll make sure to keep you guys appraised of everything that's going on. I do want to kind of shift a little. If you guys have more questions on this, feel free to ask away. But we've got about 40 minutes left on this live stream. And like I said, if you're just joining right now, welcome. We kind of covered some of the top news of the past month, some of the latest app updates that we've seen on Uber and Lyft. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to you guys, I guess the digital floor, and you can ask me anything, any questions that you might have. And I'm going to do my best to answer any questions. If you're watching after the fact, if you're not watching right now and you're not watching live, you can actually follow along with the live chat still and see what people are saying and what people are asking. And you can leave a comment, which I will make sure to answer after the stream goes live, in the next few days or something like that. So let me take a sip of water and I'm going to start answering these questions. All right, so the Beacon of Light Driver Stay Lit Drivers. I like that name. It's kind of a long name. Destination filters equals drivers strike against Uber. So this is definitely something that I think, it could warrant drivers, basically organizing and, kind of fighting back. Like in New York and some other places, they've had some pretty successful organizing. But the one mistake I see a lot of times with drivers organizing is that they only do it online. I'm not, if you guys have ever sold anything on Craigslist, online accountability is very low, right? Like people are talking shit in the comments probably, they don't stick up to their word. So I think if any type of real organizing effort against Uber or Lyft kind of has to start small, in person, and with a lot of accountability. I'm going to leave a link right now to an article I wrote about how to organize a group of Uber and Lyft drivers. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, I definitely laid out a game plan, and it is a little bit of an older article. I might actually update it so you guys can know. Let's see. Audrey says, we need more than 2 destination filters. Remember when we briefly had 6? Yeah, I mean, as far as the history of Uber destination filters, they first launched it with 2 and it worked anytime. And then as part of Uber's 180 days of change, they actually bumped it up to 6. And at that point, they said drivers were abusing it and kind of using it too much, and it was raising ETAs for drivers. So I guess I just don't understand how destination filter has been around for years, and now all of a sudden, it's become a problem. I don't know, just a lot of red flags. Seems fishy to me. And then, kind of from 2 to 6, and then they went back to 2, and then they started blocking it during busy times like rush hour. And now in certain markets, they're experimenting with getting rid of it completely, or reducing the rates that they pay drivers on destination rides by 30%. So we'll see what happens. Scott says, when locked in on, especially on a high flat surge, like $10 to $15, you try to accept the ride and it says, sorry, an error has occurred. Is Uber doing this on purpose? I mean, I can't imagine that they're like maliciously doing this, but the app sometimes can be kind of a piece of crap. So that might be more what's happening, or maybe you're in a low service area. But I've heard a few stories like this, Scott. Unfortunately, if you want to send me an email, harry@therideshareguy.com, with a few more details, this is definitely something I kind of want to look into, because I feel like I've heard a few stories like this, and I haven't personally experienced this since we don't have the new flat surge here in LA yet. But I definitely feel like when it does come, I'm going to do a lot of testing and see what's going on. Let's see. I saw a question from Paula. She says, how many Uber drivers in this chat qualify for Uber Assist? So Uber Assist, I believe, is the feature. I don't think it's wheelchair accessible, but it's sort of like designed to provide additional assistance, I believe is what it is. But it's not, it may be wheelchairs too. I don't know. I'd have to double check. Obviously, I don't qualify for Uber Assist, but that would be something I'm interested in learning more about. Paula, that actually might be a good next video for you. If you've done Uber Assist, I'd be curious to know if anyone else has tried it out, and we can kind of share what it's like. Backseat driver says, I got you covered on flat surge. I don't know what that means, but I assume it's something bad because no one likes it. Dan says, we got 180 days of change for 360 days of terror. That sounds like a great meme or a great pun. And Uber Girl Paula says, yes, seniors, care drivers, non-powered wheelchairs. So yeah, I think that's what Uber Assist is. It's not, it's sort of just like providing a little extra help to those who need it. Oh, and I completely missed this. Rog came in with our first super chat of $10. I want to thank you for all your good info. Been driving since November, and all your info is always spot on. Thank you. Really appreciate your support, Rog, and the super chat. And that's definitely my goal with all of the content we're producing, and of course these YouTube lives, is to really just help you guys. So anything that you need, now is the time to ask. Otherwise, you guys always know you can leave a comment or send me an email. Another super chat from Dan, $7. Thank you very much. Clownfish says, I switched to Lyft destination filter when Uber screws with the destination filter and I need to use it. So another, you guys know by now, probably if you've been on my channel or blog for any amount of time, huge proponent of driving for Uber and Lyft, other services, delivery, really kind of maximize your opportunities across platforms. And this is a great reason to, because, there are times where Uber's destination filter is being blocked, if it's busy, but Lyft's may still work. And they give you 6 destination filters. I have heard from a lot of drivers that the destination filter does not work as well with Lyft in smaller to medium cities, like almost never. And I've even experienced myself here in LA. I feel like the Uber destination filter works way more often than Lyft's. But to be honest, I haven't tried Lyft's destination filter in a while. Usually kind of my go-to is Uber's destination filter because it works pretty well. So we'll see what happens there. Creekside says, if I'm going to be going through an airport with it, why can't I get someone going in that direction, right? So you can't use destination filter when you're sitting in the airport queue, I believe at every airport. And I agree. I feel like you definitely should be able to, since again, you only get 2 destination filters a day. So I feel like it's really tough to abuse it. So I agree with you. Let's see. R Smart says Uber X and XL is curb to curb. Uber Assist is door to door. So that's actually a really good explanation. I appreciate you sharing that, R Smart. And the Beacon of Light says, Harry, did you ever hear about the chauffeur app Driver? No, I haven't, but feel free to chime in. There are a lot of apps out there, and there are a lot of different services. And in general, what I recommend is that you guys you hear about a new app or a new service, do a little research, do a little due diligence, and oftentimes it's pretty easy, to get signed up, to get started, and sort of just see what's happening. Is this company legit? If you're paying money, like right from day one, probably a red flag, right? But if you guys are smart about it, and I know you are if you're following my channel, a lot of these smaller companies, like Paula earlier, she's gonna have a couple videos about Hop, Skip, Drive, which I really recommend you guys driving. I've heard great feedback from drivers who are doing this service, and there are a lot of differences too from doing Uber and Lyft. But a lot of these smaller services, they're not available in every city. So you may not see me do a video on Driver, for example. I've never even heard of it because it might only be in 1 or 2 cities. And so I probably won't do a video on that, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good opportunity. So definitely take a look and see what the opportunity is. Let's see. Jerry says, passengers appreciate female drivers, want to see more of us. Totally agree with that. I think more female drivers is a good thing. And yeah, I've heard from female passengers actually that they feel more comfortable with female drivers. Let's see. Christine says, why not quit rideshare if you are doing well with the other companies? I assume let's see, are you referring? Yeah, I mean, I think that, this is definitely a common, I guess you would say complaint, right? When you hear drivers complaining about rates or complaining about destination filter changes, I hear people say, why not just quit? And, I get that sentiment, but I also get that, one thing I've been surprised by is that a lot of people invest a lot into driving for Uber and Lyft. They watch a bunch of my videos, they buy my course, they buy my book, they email me a bunch of questions. And I'm always surprised at how thorough a job and how, kind of much time people put into this. And I think a lot of people like myself like to have pride in the job they're doing, and they want to do a good job. And hopefully that comes across in this channel. If you're watching my channel right now, you probably are doing it because you want to get better, you want to improve. And so I think that just telling people to quit, it's tough because you've invested a lot of time and energy and effort, and you don't always want to just quit and move on to something else, right? You may even like doing this job. So, I mean, I kind of get both sides of that. But I mean, at the same time, you do have to understand, and this is why a lot of the videos we do, it's really about understanding that nobody cares more about your business, and frankly, nobody cares more about your money than you do. And that's really kind of what I want you guys to understand. You can provide great service and do all these nice things, but at the end of the day, you're in this business for yourself. So hopefully that is helpful. Let's see. Scott says, anyone use this stereo music app? So it's funny, I keep hearing about this app called Stereo, and I'm not going to recommend it just yet, but it is a very interesting concept. And basically what it does is it allows you to play music, like a Pandora or a Spotify for your passengers, and then they'll play some ads here and there and you'll get paid. Unfortunately, I looked up the reviews for this company on the App Store, and they're pretty bad. There's some positive, like 5-star reviews in there, but they seem kind of like their friends and family wrote them, like, oh my God, this is the best app ever. I can't believe how much money, like very obvious to me that they're like friends and family reviews. And then all the real reviews are kind of negative. So I think it's a cool concept, but it seems like they've got some kinks and bugs to work out. And you guys know that any of these companies that kind of allow you to earn extra, or when they become legit, that's kind of when, I try to vet these companies. So like, we're not going to kind of go out and cover a company like Stereo until we sort of see that the product is working, that the app is working, that drivers might actually have potential to get paid. So, recently we've done a couple videos on cargo. We just did a video or an article on Play Octopus. So if you guys want to check that out, there's definitely some services out there. Cargo is a big one. I know it's not for everyone, but Play Octopus is another one. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that right now in the live chat, and you guys can check it out. Let's see. Jay says, many of us really enjoy driving. So I totally agree with that, Jay. And I think you're referring to my comment about, why don't people just quit? And I think there are a lot of positives to driving for rideshare. I mean, why else would you guys be doing it? So I think that's kind of the biggest bummer about these changes to destination filter and rates. Like, they suck. And I totally am not happy. And, I know a lot of drivers are really pissed and upset, but just quitting doesn't really solve much, right? You can't drive and do a job that you may like or love. So let's see. The Beacon says, Harry, Driver is an app where you drive other people around and you use their cars so they don't have to drive. Interesting. Kathy says, what kind of car would you recommend for rideshare? I'm thinking of buying another car. So, I think the most common, the most common rideshare vehicle is a Toyota Prius, because it gets the best gas mileage. And if you're a full-time driver, I think a hybrid is almost a must. But if you're a part-time driver, anything economical, 4-door sedan, if you can get it 2 to 3 years old, pay cash for it or get a really low APR loan, I think that's a good option. One car that I'm actually pretty excited about right now that I haven't personally driven, but we're going to have a video coming out about it soon, is the Chevy Volt. So this is an electric vehicle. It has a 220-mile range. And I think it's honestly, I'm really excited about this car, because I think electric going forward could be a really interesting vehicle for rideshare drivers now that the range is getting into the 200 to 300 miles. Because before, when it's 100 miles, that's not nearly enough for rideshare drivers. But when you get into 200 to 300, you can definitely make that work in almost everywhere across the country as a vehicle. And you have you have no gas. You have to pay for electricity still, but it's significantly cheaper. So I'm going to leave a link right now in the live chat to a guest post, or not a guest post, from one of our new contributors, Gabe, who's actually done 10,000 or thousands of rides with a Chevy Volt on rideshare up in the Bay Area. And definitely stay tuned, because he's going to have a video about his experience in a Chevy Volt. It's kind of cool. He had one of his friends interview him. So I'm really excited for that video too. Another super chat coming in, John Bauer. These sessions are really great. Got a question? All right, well, feel free to ask away since you left a super chat. I don't see the question, but I'll try to find it. Let's see. Scott says, I had a VC fundraiser for Stereo in my car last fall. And yeah, actually, I know that Stereo is trying to raise money right now. So it's a cool concept. I like it because it's less obtrusive, but we'll see what happens there. Okay. Martin says, this is a good question. Martin says, what's the latest eBay and lights Uber Lyft at airports? I saw an email that Uber said not to use lights. What does Lyft say about the amp? Last they sent to some drivers in Minneapolis. So, every state is different. And he's basically asking about, the trade dress, right? Like the Lyft amp or the Uber beacon that lights up. Like obviously in certain times and places, it helps your passengers find you. And airports are really strict. So there are a lot of, like, as you guys have noticed, most airports you have to have a permit to pick up and drop off, or you can get ticketed, and they do ticket you because like those airport cops have nothing to do. And we actually just wrote an interesting story that I'm going to find right here and share with you guys. It's an article and a video from Jay. And basically what happened was this driver got cited for having advertising around his car. And so airports have a lot of extra rules and regulations, and trade dress, like light up lights, advertising, all of that is often actually prohibited at airports. So it's sort of, I don't know if I have a great answer for you because every airport is different, but it seems like some airports are sort of starting to crack down. So I think if you're using lights or if you're using advertising or anything like that, definitely look up, and I just left a link in the live chat and you can go to the article. We looked it up for a few different airports to see what the rules and regulations are, but it's a little bit of a tricky issue, and I don't think it's a huge problem yet, but it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. And if it becomes an issue, if we start seeing that hundreds of drivers or even dozens of drivers are getting tickets for using the Lyft amp or the Uber beacon at the airports, we'll definitely let you guys know. But I think, to be honest, it's kind of stupid rule because, as you guys know, the Lyft amp and the Uber beacon, like those light up signs are really helpful at airports when you got 100 people looking for, a Toyota, a black Honda Civic or whatever it might be. Okay. Let's see. John says, is Kia Niro XL ready? This vehicle caught my eye as well. I'm actually not really familiar with the Kia Niro, but I'm going to check it out right now. Oh, this is the electric vehicle Kia Niro. I think that's the electric one, I want to say, or maybe they have a hybrid. I'm not super familiar with that car, but you can definitely reach out to Uber and ask. There's some nice cars that are not super expensive, but they still qualify for XL, or they still qualify for Select. Tesla just released the $35,000 base Model 3, and that qualifies for Uber Select in a lot of places. So you got to double check. I would definitely double check. Don't take my word for it before you buy something, but that's an option. So Kathy says, does the Prius and Chevy Volt work for Uber X? Yep, definitely. Dan with another super chat. Thank you very much. Also, thanks, Jay. Looks like Jay's in there answering some questions. Appreciate that. Let's see. Mike says, new Quest in LA, thumbs down. I think I saw another question about, or observation about Quest. John says, I enjoy this gig, but my Quest bonus is what keeps me on the road. Why do they keep lowering it? It forces me to drive Lyft. So if you guys are in a big city, usually Uber offers these trip-based bonuses called Uber Quest that basically say drive 20 trips and we'll pay you $50, or drive 50 trips and we'll give you $120. And it seems like, well, at least for John specifically, it seems like the Quest bonuses have been getting lowered and lowered. And I think this might even be a result of, these companies going to IPO. This is one thing we've talked about in the past, is that, these companies are losing a ton of money, and one way that they're paying out a lot in bonuses. So we could see these reduced in the future. So that could be what's happening. Jim says, P nice. I don't know exactly what that means, so I'm going to put you in timeout for now. And then V says, do you have to have signs up if you are video recording with a dash cam? So again, it varies by state, but in most states, you do have to have dash cams. And I think just to be safe, like what I would say, it's really not that hard to buy like a little sticker off of Amazon and that says, audio and video is being recorded, even if you're only doing video, for example. Excuse me, and just put that into your car. And I really highly recommend dash cams. The one that I'm personally using right now is the Vantrue N2 Pro, and we've got a review of that one on the blog and on YouTube if you guys want to take a look at that. Super high quality picture. And actually, my wife got into an accident the other day right in front of our street. Luckily, we had the Vantrue N2 Pro recording. And at first, the other insurance company didn't take responsibility. And then I submitted the dash cam footage from my Vantrue N2 Pro, and then they took full responsibility. I don't know if it was because of that dash cam footage, but they eventually took 100% responsibility. So I'm telling you, this dash cam footage can really, not only help you in the case of an accident, but actually, as Martin says with the super chat, video recording device is in use for driver safety. When passengers see a little Vantrue Pro or see that they're on camera, I find that it definitely prevents bad behavior too. Nothing is for sure, but if people know that they're on camera, it can help you out there with, controlling your passengers, especially, the drunk ones on Friday, Saturday night. Mike says the N2 Pro is a really nice camera. I use it, a lot of great features. One of the cool features N2 Pro has is that it has I think it's called parking assist or something like that. But basically, if someone bumps into you in the parking lot, it'll automatically turn on and start recording. And I've never actually used it, but I think, stuff like that is pretty cool. Paula says, the best dash camera is actually the black view. Interesting. So I've heard a little bit about the black view, but I haven't personally used it. So I might, I'm always looking for different dash cams. The one complaint I have about the Vantrue N2 Pro is it is kind of expensive. So I totally get, hesitation if you don't want to spend $150 on a camera. But again, I think having a dash cam is a must. So hopefully that answered your question, V. Dave, the Uber slave, good to see you. I always appreciate you joining our YouTube lives, and he's got a great YouTube channel too. We've got a lot of other YouTubers in here, so I appreciate you guys all joining. He says, I'm about to see Kevin O'Leary in Northridge, which is kind of cool. He's from Shark Tank, I think. I think that's the guy, Kevin O'Leary, right? I think that's what you're talking about. Let's see. Okay, this is a good question from Steven. Steven says, how many cancels can you get before deactivation? So there's no set number, but in general, so Uber no longer deactivates driver for low acceptance rates. So if you get a request and you ignore that request, you can do that all day long. In some cities, Uber will actually put you on a timeout if you ignore 2 to 3 trips in a row. Let's say you're ignoring Uber Pool, for example, they might put you in a timeout because they're thinking hey, why do you have the app on, but you keep ignoring trips. But cancellation rate is different. So cancellations happen when you accept a trip and then you cancel the trip. And it's confusing, I know, but basically there isn't a set percentage. But let's say, in every city, what I've heard is that 5 to 10% is acceptable. So out of every 10 rides that you accept, you can cancel 1. Out of every 10 to 20 rides you accept, you can cancel maybe 1, maybe 2, and stay pretty safe. But even if you are canceling too many rides, Uber's going to send you notifications ahead of time. So if you go out and cancel 20 out of 20 rides, you might just get deactivated, but you probably should expect that because that's not really what you're supposed to do. But if you're canceling, let's say 3 or 4, and you're not getting any notifications, that's probably okay in your city. You're probably about average cancellation rate. But if you start canceling, let's say 5 or 6 out of every 20, and Uber sends you a text or sends you an email hey, we call them kind of the warning emails, but basically, they'll say, hey, why are you canceling? Or, your cancellation rate is getting too high. If it escalates higher and higher, we could potentially deactivate you. And, I wouldn't worry too much about it if you get 1 warning email or text, but if you start getting multiple, then you know that you might be on the cusp of that. So let's see. Moises says, Harry, thanks for always looking out for us drivers, and gives a super chat of $4.99. I appreciate that for sure. John says, new algorithm for ride pings. Okay, I'll have to check out that link. Gail says, Uber is trying to get us all to quit so they can replace us with self-crashing cars. I don't think so, to be honest. I've got a chapter in my book at the end that I'm really glad I included about what's going to happen to rideshare drivers when self-driving cars come. And I won't give, the full answer because I've got a few paragraphs or a few pages on that in my book. But basically, if you guys have been studying the self-driving car stuff, this technology is way further away than you might might imagine, like they're not even using it in any commercial capacity, in any even like small test or small scale. So I wouldn't really worry about self-driving cars for a while. And I mean, as you guys might have imagined, it's a tough, just in general, like I don't know if rideshare driving is a great career. There is an opportunity to, move up the ranks and get promoted, like with other careers. So I don't know that just by the nature of the job, I don't think it's a great career. You can definitely take advantage of it while it lasts. And I know there are a lot of drivers who've been driving for 3-4 years and they love it and they're making money and, they figured out the system, but they have to understand that, it's kind of like a tenuous relationship as an independent contractor. And so I wouldn't worry about, and, self-driving cars, I think are way a ways away. If you guys are interested in learning more about this, I actually just did a really good podcast with a guy named Tim Lee, who's a reporter at Ars Technica. I'm going to leave a link right now in the live chat. And he kind of is one of the best self-driving car reporters. And he kind of gave a really good breakdown of kind of like the true state of self-driving car technology. And it's pretty much exactly what I said. Victor said, I've used an adaptive car that was great. And I totally agree. I think you're referring to like the adaptive cruise control and the lane assist. So if you guys have ever driven like these newer cars, especially the luxury cars, they've got all these really cool features. Tesla has autopilot, and these things work really well in controlled situations like on the freeway or in traffic. But, I've done Tesla autopilot a lot here in Los Angeles traffic, and it's terrible. It's not even close to being able to, merge on a two-way on-ramp and make a left turn and all the kind of things that drivers have to do every single day. So Danny says, how can I get your book, please? Well, first of all, if you stay tuned to the end, we'll go for another 10 or 15 minutes. You'll actually have the opportunity to win a copy of my book. But if not, you can also find my book on Amazon. Let's see. QS says recent Uber settlement news. Yeah, so Uber did settle this lawsuit, this like big O'Connor employment lawsuit that was like California and Massachusetts. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a $100 million settlement. The judge rejected it. And like 3 years later, now it's only down to 20 million. So I don't know. I don't think these lawsuits are really working out in drivers' favor most of the time. I mean, that's kind of typical of class action. So I don't know if there's much more to say there, but looks like Jackson has joined. Jackson, I definitely appreciate you joining. He's a career taxi driver. So I'm curious, Jackson, if you've checked out Jay's series on driving a taxi. So Jay is one of our top contributors in San Francisco. He's done over 23,000 rideshare trips. And recently, he actually signed up to be a taxi driver in San Francisco. So we did a whole series on that. I'll leave a link to the YouTube video in the live chat right now if you guys want to check out what it's like actually to be a taxi driver. And I'll tease a little future content. We have Jonathan Nope, who's one of our old contributors. He hasn't done a video for us in a year or two because he sort of quit the gig economy and took a break, but he's been driving a big rig truck. And he's going to make a couple videos about what it's like to be a truck driver and a couple articles. So definitely stay tuned for that. And okay, Jim, I don't know what what this means, so I think I'm gonna have to hide you for now. Bye, Jim. John says bye. And then let's see. I saw, we've got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure I get any questions that maybe I missed. Terry says, should drivers be allowed to carry guns? Well, this is a tough issue because it's actually, to carry guns is against Uber and Lyft's terms of service, but in a lot of states, you're allowed to carry guns. So it's sort of like for drivers, you have to make a choice. Do you follow Uber's laws or do you follow the state's laws? And personally, I would recommend state typically takes priority, whatever you need to do to feel safe, and kind of whatever are the local laws and regulations, like that always would take precedence over Uber's laws, just with the understanding, hey, if a passenger reports you and it's against Uber's terms of service to have a gun in your vehicle, then you could potentially be deactivated. So just kind of understand the risk. Peter says, how many people do videos for you? So right now, obviously, I do these YouTube lives every month, and I do a couple of videos a month, sometimes more. We've also got Jay, we've got Joe, and I also want to mention Cecily, who's our newest contributor. She's doing a weekly news roundup, which has been really cool, and it's actually been really popular. We've only done a couple so far, but these are going to be coming out Saturday morning. So I'll leave a link to, let me pull up her most recent one, and this is going to be kind of a cool little update for you guys on like what's happened with Rideshare over the past week. So here's a link to her last segment, and then Uber girl Paula is also in there. She's going to be contributing a couple videos about hop, skip, drive. So we've got definitely a few, and that's really my goal, is to try to bring you. Obviously I'm here. I've been driving for Uber and Lyft for almost 5 years, but I've always been a part-time driver in Los Angeles. So I really want to bring you different and diverse opinions, and that's kind of really my goal with the YouTube channel, the blog, is to kind of curate like who are the people creating the most interesting content, and then share them with you through my platform. So that'll be interesting. And yeah, as Paula said, she's just started making videos for me all about hop, skip, drive, and sounds like we even got some other ideas in the works. So I'm excited for that. Steven says, can we Rapify or do advertisement on our cars while driving rideshare? Yes, you can. Make sure you check out, maybe rewind a little and check out what I said about the airport. Martin says, Cecily is cool. I agree. I think her videos have been really popular so far, and she's got a great personality. So definitely recommend you guys subscribe and be ready for those videos Saturday morning. And yeah, Paula is also legit. I appreciate you, Paula, chiming in on all the comments. Very helpful. Los Angeles Unstoppable Bubba says, congrats on 40,000 subs. Yeah, actually, I think we just hit 40,000 subscribers, and it seems like for whatever reason in the past few months we've like jumped from, I think we had like 35,000 subscribers to 40,000. So that's super cool, and it also just kind of like really motivates me to kind of like invest more in creating more videos and kind of hiring more contributors and all that. So definitely something that I'm excited about. Victor says about guns, if it's your life versus deactivating me, it's a no-brainer. And I kind of, I think I agree. That sentiment is pretty popular with a lot of drivers that want to carry weapons. They'd rather get deactivated from Uber than deactivated from Lyft. So personally, I don't own a gun or carry a gun while I'm driving, but I think that I would say state and local laws definitely take precedence over Uber's regulations and laws. Tanya says, please speak on ratings. Let me know if you have a specific question. I know there are a few questions that I missed, and I want to make sure that I get to them before we're out of time here. And in a few minutes we'll be ending, but we will do a little giveaway of the book. So stay tuned for that. The XL Specialist says, how is the baby? My baby is doing well. I think I might have to have him make another cameo sometime soon in one of our YouTube lives. So if you guys have been watching, I think I had him, my son, he's 14 months old. I can probably show you a little picture on my phone right now. Let's see, I've got a bunch of notifications on my phone. Let me clear those, but he made a little cameo. I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago. That's my son though right now. Let's see how that looks. Hopefully that's in focus. I can't really tell, but that's what my son looks like these days. So we'll see if he makes a cameo. Yeah, it came up pretty clear. So hopefully you guys can check him out. Loqui says, Harry, please replace Dara. He's clueless, sucks all our pay. And then, oh, looks like we've got Dustin in the house. Thanks for joining. He says, whoa, it's Harry. Everyone liked the stream. Yeah, Dustin is kind of like my hype man. He's always getting everyone to throw those likes and thumbs up. So I appreciate that, Dustin. And yeah, I think my son is definitely very, very cute. Okay, ratings question. John says, we can't reverse 1-star ratings, but what about riders that file fraudulent driving reports that claim driver was operating recklessly? Happened today, actually. So, in general, Uber always has to investigate these, right? Like, imagine if you're Uber and a rider reports that like this driver was, drunk or something like that. And that's why they temporarily deactivate these drivers. And, I think they could improve this process a lot, because they don't even look if you're like a 4.99 star rated driver and you have 10,000 trips. Obviously, you're probably not driving drunk in that scenario, but they do, sometimes they're kind of slow to investigate it. So first thing is you want to make sure that you have Lyft or another service that you can do in case you get, like falsely accused and they need to investigate it. And the second thing is usually you can work this out with Uber support and kind of explain what happened, or kind of go in person to the office and explain what happened. But kind of like your last resort is having that dash cam footage. So this is just another reason, to have a dash cam so that you can share. Like if a passenger says you were drunk, you've got hours of dash cam footage that shows you're completely fine. And I think you can kind of avoid that. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Yeah, lots of YouTubers in the house. Matthew says, I used your article on St. Patty's Day on my podcast. Awesome. Feel free to share a link to your podcast, Matthew, and I can check it out. I think you actually just DM'd me. I haven't had a chance to respond to that. And Dave says, is Dustin feeling better? He had diverticulitis. Hopefully I said that right. Yeah, Dustin, I saw that you were sick. I hope you're doing better. I've just been watching your workout videos, man. I want to see you get ripped for the summer. So let's see, we'll answer a couple more questions. V says, Harry, is it better to rent or drive for Lyft and Uber? I mean, I think it's almost always better to own your vehicle and drive your vehicle. Hopefully it's like an efficient, gas efficient, high MPG car. But that being said, I mean, we work with a lot of new drivers who are frankly, they might have low credit, they might have no credit, they might have no money for a down payment. And if you have no job and no car and you can go out and rent a car from Uber and Lyft and make money from day one, it's expensive to rent, or lease a vehicle, through like a fare or a hire car or, one of these services. But I mean, it can definitely, if you've got no job and no car, it's better to have a job and a car than not. So I definitely recommend it for people in certain situations. Just have to understand that this is a gig. If you're going to rent a vehicle, you got to be ready to do this full time and really take advantage of that unlimited mileage. We've got a really good comparison of all the vehicle options, and you really want to make sure you select the right program for yourself. So I'll leave that link right now in the live chat. Scott says, Harry, personal question. Have you had any non-rideshare job offers due to this exposure? You seem like an ideal candidate for any company's PR or et cetera. Well, so no, even though I do get accused almost on like a daily or weekly basis of working for Uber or Lyft, clearly they've never seen any of the videos or articles where we kind of bash on Uber or Lyft, like probably tomorrow's article and Thursday's video. But I've never worked like directly with any of these companies. We do some sort of like, we do some consulting behind the scenes and, like driver surveys and stuff like that with, companies that are trying to release products and services for drivers, but usually they're like products to help drivers earn more. And then I am an advisor for several companies. So like Maestro, for example, and kind of other companies in the mobility space that are really just doing anything to help rideshare drivers, workers. Started working with a couple called Perch Mobility that's helping chargers, Bellhop that's kind of helping people compare the price of rides. So there's a bunch of companies that I'm out there working with, but basically anyone who is kind of trying to help drivers or kind of help the ecosystem. That's how I've worked with some of these companies. Dustin says, Harry is Uber's CEO assistant. I don't even know if I could afford that. Deborah says, are you a sellout? I mean, I guess I would say, yeah, I have sold out because I don't do this for free. This is my full-time job, running the blog, running YouTube. We've got 5 or 6 contributors on the YouTube channel. And if you ask them, I think I pay them pretty well for their videos. And, good videos, good content is expensive. So I definitely, we've got a lot of expenses that are behind the scenes. I don't expect everyone to quite understand that. But yeah, I do my online business, the media business, the blog, the podcast, YouTube channel is my full-time job. So yes, I do need to make money. And, really though, my strategy, I want to give you guys everything for free. I mean, this book, what do I charge? $9.99. I think it's actually cheaper on Amazon, but like I put probably, 5 years of research and, talking to drivers, trying out all these services and spent, months writing that book, and you can get it all for $9.99, which I think is a pretty steal. So definitely agree. Jay says, Harry is a great partner to work with. Thank you, Jay. Let's see. What other questions we have going on? Clownfish says rent only as a very last option. It is very expensive and you'll have to drive 60 plus hours a week to try to make a profit. And I kind of agree. This is not renting or leasing a vehicle is not for someone who's going to drive 20 to 30 hours a week or someone who wants to take a week off a month. You really have to be ready to put in a lot of hours. So I talked about that. Let's see. What about that guy talking crazy about Jay and his method? I don't know. We'll have to. Well, I think Jay's method works well. I like presenting a lot of different opinions. I think the video you're referring to is Jay's video about screening rides, which had a lot of, I guess you would say, positive, but also a lot of negative comments for sure. I mean, more positive than negative, but I think in general, it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier, really kind of understanding that this is your business. No one cares more about your business than you do. And also about like kind of canceling, Jay's strategy. You guys I'll leave a link to this video. So some of you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about, right? Screening. YouTube. Okay, so basically, you guys can go check out this video, but it's about sort of which rides you should take, I guess you would say. It's a little complicated, but in general, even Jay's strategy, I mean, since you can't cancel on more than like 5 to 10% of passengers because you get deactivated, it's not like something you can do every ride. I think a lot of people probably didn't watch the whole video and didn't understand that this is something you can't really do all the time. Kevin says, just curious if you really got deactivated. No, Jay hasn't been deactivated. The Rideshare Hub says, what's up, everyone? It looks like we got the Rideshare Hub in the house. So thank you for joining, another good YouTuber. Mark said, as a community of rideshare people, how can we get Uber and Lyft to actually listen to our concerns? Well, I think one way is, of course, you can always share your feedback with Uber and Lyft. How much they listen to that, I don't know. I think bringing it to my attention, I definitely feel like, some of these issues that we're covering. I mean, there are a lot of people at Uber and Lyft who read and watch my stuff. And so I think definitely they're aware, and that's why we try to bring to light some of these issues, because they know that when they do something, like when they change a destination filter, I want Uber and Lyft to feel a lot of pressure. And, I think that like the article and video we release about that tomorrow and Thursday will definitely do that. But I think beyond that, like Lyft, for example, has the Driver Advisory Council, and they actually just expanded it from like, they used to have 12 representatives to like 200. So, I mean, this is definitely, if you want to start, having your feedback heard, there's definitely channels. And I think that, it's tough sometimes because it might feel like, oh, this is just for PR or whatever it might be. But I think if you kind of look for those channels or those forums, you can kind of start to make your word, felt or heard. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see, any other questions? A congressional hearing against the gig economy will help. Dustin says, Uber listens to us, they just don't care. Ginger says, can you show benefits of XL versus X driving? We've actually got a really good podcast about this that I'll link to with a guy named John O'Connell, who's driving XL in San Francisco. So you can learn a little bit more about XL versus X there. But in general, I don't think XL or Select pay much better than X. But if you sort of work a lot of the times and places where XL makes sense, or if you work or if you kind of, for, let's say you have a bunch of kids and you need a minivan, right? Then of course it might make sense to drive XL in that way. Let's see, Driverman says, hey, Harry, I give you a shout out in my latest video because I'm on your email list and like your content. Awesome. Tweet me that link and I can check it out. Scott says, I think you're talking about Dustin. Okay. All right. Get out of here, Dustin. Just kidding. Rideshare Hub says, Harry, you're going to be buying Lyft stock. No, I will not be investing in Lyft or Uber stock, but we will have some articles and videos from Jay because he did qualify for the cash bonus. So definitely we will check that out. All right, guys, I think we've gone for over an hour, so I definitely appreciate all you guys joining. Now, today, to enter the contest for a copy of my book, let's see, we talked a lot about vehicles today. So why don't you guys email me if you want to be entered to win a copy of my book. And let's see, do I have, who won last month? I think Last month, Rick, Lorray, and Steve won a copy of my book. So hopefully Rick, Lorray, or Steve, if you guys are on, you can chime in and say that you got a copy of my book, so you guys know that I'm actually sending these out. But hopefully you trust me. These books are cheap, don't worry. And in order to enter the contest today, send me an email, harry@theridshareguy.com, subject line YouTube Live, and I want to know what your favorite vehicle for rideshare is, right? Like, doesn't necessarily have to be what you're driving right now. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what do you think is the best vehicle for rideshare? You know, do you think it's a Tesla because it's electric? Do you think it's a Chevy Volt? Do you think it's a Prius? Whatever it might be, send me an email, harry@theridshareguy.com, subject line YouTube Live, and let me know what's your favorite vehicle for rideshare. I'm going to pick 3 winners, and we'll mail you a copy of my book. How does that sound? Dustin says, give me the book. Dustin, I'm pretty sure I've sent you a copy of my book, haven't I? If not, I definitely will send it to you. It looks like it's getting a little feisty in the comments here too, so I think it's a good time to go ahead and end it. Appreciate you guys joining. Feel free, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, definitely do so now. There are a lot of other good YouTubers too in the comments, so go ahead and review that live chat. I give a shout out to a bunch of them. Feel free to check out all of those other YouTubers because there's a lot of great content out there right now on YouTube that I think a lot of people are spending a lot of time, and I think you know, if you guys are getting good value and support, feel free to subscribe to their channels. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you want to enter into my contest for a copy, I'm going to give away 3 copies of my book. Send me an email, harry@theridshareguy.com, subject line YouTube Live, and tell me what's your favorite vehicle for rideshare. So appreciate you guys all joining, and just want to say thank you for subscribing to the channel, joining these YouTube Lives. We will be back next month doing another live session just like I have for the past 14, 15 months. And if you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, harry@theridshareguy.com. We release new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and now Saturdays, and even some Sundays. So our newest contributor, Cecily from Drive Girl Drive, is doing weekly rideshare news roundups every Saturday morning. The first 2 have been really popular and I think really successful. So hopefully you guys had fun on this one, and I will see you guys next month. Take care.